Hi, I'm Jerry Wise, and I'm a relationship expert, and I am director of the Center for Self-Differentiation at Family Tree Counseling Associates on the north side of Indianapolis, Indiana. I see clients in my office and online. I have over 100 free videos on YouTube and sharing some important topics from a family systems perspective, which I think is a very healing and helpful perspective, and what a lot of people don't find a lot of these days. If you've read books by Harriet Lerner, The Dance of Anger, The Dance of Intimacy, she also has ascribes to the family systems perspective. And there are some other authors too, Jenny Brown, Andrea Shera, and we all share the same basic theoretical understanding of relationships. And in my own past, in getting a master's degree in marital and family therapy, that was the predominant perspective that was offered, and I think it's been a really healing one for me as well as for other people. Today, my video is entitled, "It's Never Too Late to Have a Happy Childhood." So Jerry, what do you mean by that? I'm not a child anymore. I'm an adult. How am I going to have my childhood over again? But just because you're no longer a child does not mean that that child no longer exists. The child exists within you. And we call that child in you the inner child, or our inner child. Just because our outer body has grown up, our inner body, feelings, our mind, our beliefs, our patterns, may be scarred, wounded, suffering, and abandoned since our childhood. And we've never dealt with those. And so that inner child still has those wounds. They haven't been healed and had good parenting and those kinds of things. And I don't care if you're 72 years old, or 94 years old, we can still suffer from things we experienced when we were 11, especially if we have not dealt with them, or resolved them, or healed them, or we don't understand the importance of loving self and becoming a better parent to yourself. Sadly, some people go to the grave with very wounded inner child issues which haunted them their entire lives. The good news is you don't have to. So Jerry, how can I have a happy childhood now? I'm 45 years old, I'm 55 years old, I'm 37 years old, I'm 29 years old. How can I have a happy childhood? I can't go back and relive that. So what do you mean by that? What I mean is this. Our little child is still inside of us, reacting, overfeeling, overreacting, or feeling safe, or feeling fearful, or feeling loved, or feeling shamed, or abandoned, etc. Often as adults we have been trained to ignore these feelings and ignore our inner child. People often deny this internal experience by saying, well, that's just nonsense, Jerry. I'm totally responsible for my own feelings, thoughts, and behaviors. And I don't need to take care of some silly inner child. And I believe growing up with my family, the past was the past, and I don't have to do anything about it now. That was then, this is now. Though of all the people who have said that, I've always found that they end up coming around and accepting the fact that, maybe I didn't resolve all those issues from childhood. Though I don't believe in going back and dealing with family of origin stuff, because there's just no reason for that. I don't want to blame my parents. My parents are, as though that's what I'm telling them to do. They need to blame their parents, which is not what I'm talking about. Nor am I talking about blaming anyone. I'm talking about understanding what it was like to grow up in your family. Understanding is not the same thing as blaming. And I'm totally responsible for my own feelings, thoughts, and behaviors. Except what I find is those people who say they're totally responsible for their own thoughts, feelings, and behaviors have thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that they have some kind of uncontrol over. They get reactive. They get sullen. They become overreactive and angry, distant, cold, critical, mean, weak, lost. All of the things a child can feel when you're growing up. And they don't attribute that to childhood. They attribute that to their adult situation today. Only what's interesting is they feel angry to a 10, but the situation warranted a 1 or a 2. My belief is the 2 through 8, or 2 through 9 gap is what's our inner child that we haven't healed or resolved. Or they feel lost. Well, why do I just feel lost? I just need to grow up and be a better adult and be more mature. Well, but there's something in your way. And what may be in your way is your inner child that you're not doing anything with and still treating as badly as your parents treated that inner child. All of these feelings, the distance, angry, critical, mean, weak, etc., all of these feelings have roots in our childhood. Healing our childhood can help us have a happier childhood as an adult, because that child remains until the day you die. Do you want that child to have a happier childhood? Let's have a happier childhood now. Even though I'm not 15, I'm not 12, I'm not 8, I know that. I'm quite aware of that. As I get older, I know I'm not young anymore in that way. But there's an inner child in me, and what am I going to do to parent that inner child in a way that would be loving, caring, accepting, things that I may not have felt from my own parents. And again, I mean, your inner child never goes away. You never stop being the 5-year-old, the 11-year-old, the 15-year-old. It's just that the 5, 11, and 15-year-old don't rule your life. I hope they don't. I hope the adult part of you rules your life. If you remember transactional analysis from a long time ago, they talked about 3 subpersonalities. One is the critical parent, the second is the adult, and the third is the child. PAC, parent, adult, child. And those 3 subpersonalities are at work in us all the time. And we talk about that child personality as being the inner child. And, you know, if there's not been too much damage to the inner child or to the child part of you, and if the parents weren't too critical or too negative, too problematic or toxic, then there's a fairly good balance between those 3. If not, then we have some real problems to deal with. And a lot of adulthoods, a lot of people who reach adulthood have suffered a lot of inner child wounds. And they're adults, but they suffered child wounds when they were growing up. Some have considered this, again, one of our subpersonalities, the inner child. Learning to provide healthy parenting now for our wounded inner child now is the way to have a happy childhood now. You wish you would not have had a parent who was alcoholic or who was mean or abusive or and then treat your inner child now like you would have liked to have been treated then. That's having a new childhood. I'm going to be a new parent for me now. I'm not going to be the parent my parents were. I'm going to be a new parent for me and a healthy, good parent for myself. Listen to yourself, have empathy for yourself, love yourself, explore yourself, give to yourself, protect yourself, comfort yourself, and heal yourself. Those are all responsibilities that we have as adults for ourselves. And often we look to other people to fill those when really those are our responsibilities. So as adults, we have been called to comfort and care for ourselves and to care for our inner child. The goal is to provide a healthy, accepting, loving environment for your inner child. This is the childhood you never had, but can have now. Yes, your parents may be gone, but you are the parents to your inner child now. They aren't. Even if they're not gone, They're not your parents anymore. You are. You are to be the parent to yourself. Let your inner child have a happy childhood. Recently, I had a client in a foreign country that I was working with who was very hypercritical of himself and would shame himself, degrade himself, be intolerant of himself, very mean mentally to himself. And all of these things are things he experienced growing up as a child. He just took over his parents' role while being an adult and just took over that role and did that to himself now. They don't have to be present anymore. Their parent lives on within them. The parent lives on within us. He did not see this very clearly. Often we don't. And we feel our critical, shaming, abandoning subpersonality is just us. That's just us. It's just the way we think. That's just the way I am as an adult. And that it's justified and reasonable. You know, I should shame myself. Look how stupid I've been. I should criticize myself. Look how bad of a job I did. And they don't realize it's a critical parent criticizing our inner child who's trying to do the best they can. Because it fits the facts, we believe. No. This is our inner critical parent we grew up with continuing to give us a hard time, only now we have taken over the job for them. So what can we do to have a happy childhood now? Admit and realize we have an inner child who's still suffering and hurting from long ago. Change the patterns that you see and find. When you're being very depressed, angry, moody, weak, lost, resentful, look back and go, when did I first started feeling this way years ago? When did that start to happen? How long ago was that? Change the patterns that you find. You are now the parent. For example, if you have a voice of shame that shames you for every error you make, every imperfection, reduce or stop how much you listen to this voice and to these thoughts. You can reduce how much you hear that inner critical parent and say, I'm not going to listen to that parent anymore, or not near as much. I know one person I was working with, they came from a German background and they called it their Brunhilde side. Not that I have any problems with anybody called Brunhilde, but that it represented a German, harsh, forceful rule that's harsh over their inner child. And they would recognize that, well, that's Brunhilde talking again. And so they named it so they could kind of identify that as a sub-personality of themselves and not take it so seriously or stop taking it at all. It's never too late to have the parent you always wanted. You be the parent you always wanted. Being patient, accepting, non-shaming, loving, and attentive to your inner child within. Be to you what you wanted your parents to be to you. Then the child can have a happier childhood today. Treat your inner child like an inner child. This is a poor, innocent, sweet, weak part of you. Nurture it, love it, take care of it, so that it can grow to feel more safe and strong and begin to grow up and develop. Remember, you have a wounded, hurt, scared little child inside that has been through a lot and needs support, love, acceptance, and attention to his or her needs. And they need that attention from you. We keep thinking everybody else needs to do this attention for us. No, it's what we need to provide. Be sure to take care of you first before you take on the task of taking care of others. Often we care for others like we would like us to care for ourselves. Don't do that. Care for yourself first and then give to others. But we care for others like we'd like to be cared for while denying it to ourselves. That's not good inner child work. Earn your own self-trust. This will allow you to think and move outside your restrictive box you have kept yourself in all these years. After your inner child feels strong enough to trust you, then you can begin to explore the world and the new world around you. Don't be so over-serious about everything. Often we have come to believe that everything around us is all or nothing, or equate it to my survival or health as an adult. For example, coming to see if my parents are limited in how they are able to love me now as an adult, and that's fine. It's not that serious, and it's not required for me to be a healthy, happy adult. You don't need the love and acceptance of your parents. If you get it, it's wonderful, and I would encourage any parents to give that to their children, adults or child. But as an adult, no longer is that required for you. For example, if I don't do this presentation perfectly, I will lose any opportunity for future chances to market myself. No, this is a good opportunity, but it is not the end of the world if I blow it. For example, if my husband leaves me, I will be left all alone and will be shamed with no one who cares about me, and no one's going to give a hoot about my life. No, I cannot determine if he will leave me or not. I can't decide that. That's for him to decide. All I can do is the best that I can. If he leaves me, my life will not be over. I will find support and love from people who care about me. Family, friends, co-workers, children, and most importantly, from myself. And that can be very self-reassuring. Often we are not very good at self-reassurance, which is self-regulation. Can you reassure yourself? Because often that's who we're hoping to hear reassurance from. Do feelings work to let the inner child have a voice and be recognized and be heard? Resist bad internal parenting, as I've mentioned before. Become aware of how you think like the child you were growing up. Become aware of how you think like the child you were growing up, like you felt in your family of origin. For example, family rules, family beliefs. Understand your family norms, what was norm for your family, and then choose them or reject them. Some you may choose, some you may reject. It's never too late to have a happy childhood, and you can start today. Take care of your inner child. Give them what he or she needs or wants. Don't shut them up. Don't shame them or punish them. The childhood can begin now, and you can have a happier childhood today. If you want to learn more about your inner child, you can read the book by Charles Whitfield entitled Healing the Child Within. I hope that you will join our YouTube channel on YouTube, and I hope you will share this video on your social media. Contact me if you want more resources, or you'd like to work with me, or you would like some help in dealing with your inner child. I want to thank you very much for watching today, and have a great day.